Backed by science is one of Gatorade's core tenets, and one of the many ways the Gatorade Sports Science Institute supports the brand. GSSI's headquarter lab, mobile and satellite laboratories, and on-the-field testing enable GSSI to do leading research with the aim of providing athletes with advice and products that help them perform and achieve their goals. GSSI has 4 pillars, or 4 key work programs. The GSSI education team produces educational programs and materials for the continuing education of athletes, their influencers, and members of the sports science community. The education team has created a robust library of learning materials, including tips and handouts, posters, e-newsletters, sports science exchange articles, and performance playbooks. The Elite Athlete Service Team is dedicated to working with athletes, teams, and trade partners around the world to support their athletic performance. The team's work includes physical testing, nutrition, sports science consulting, and translation of data. Our innovation team looks to the future and focuses on potential functional ingredients and also new technologies that may enhance our research and service programs, as well as support brand initiatives. GSSI was originally founded as a research group, and the results of the research program have helped drive superior formulations in both product taste and functionality, presented at scientific conferences and published in peer-reviewed journals. GSSI's 4 pillars ensure Gatorade is continually backed by science.
Woohoo! Oh yeah! Hello everyone! Palakpakan naman tayo dyan sa mga teammates ko dito. And allow me to give you a very warm welcome in spite of the medyo rainy days, the past few days. And welcome to our last session for your GSSI webinar series 2022. One more time, guys. My name is Chicky Reyes, your host for today's session, the 4th episode for our GSSI webinar series 2022. And I hope all of you are doing great. I would love to hear from you guys. Please do share with us in the comment section below how your week has been going. Okay ba kayo? You guys have been training, running, medyo lethargic ba kayo? Are you guys really trying to pull yourselves out of your beds and do that promised 5K run, 3K walk? Would love to hear from you guys, okay? Now, let's go a trip back memory lane muna. In the last session, about 2 weeks ago, we focused on talking about women in sports, specifically nutrition, hydration, and training for female athletes. In fact, yung mga guest athletes natin, we got Dina Wong and Danny Ravenna. Nice that we were able to chat with them. I was able to get from them how it was so different back then to just play their sport, and then ngayon talagang mga rock stars na sila in the field of volleyball. But more than that, they were saying how important nutrition is, how important hydration is, not just during competition, but more so before, during, and after they compete. And they also highlighted the importance of rest. Diba? Not just for you to get your optimal results, kinakailangan meron ka ring pahinga. So, some key takeaways from the session 2 weeks ago. If you want to catch that, hanap lang kayo, go to our videos in the Gatorade Facebook page, and for sure, you'll be able to see those episodes and watch them again. Okay? So, for our last episode, today we'll be talking about a new topic. Okay? It would be involving the multi-sport community, those who engage in the swim, bike, and run, or in the run, bike, and run, or even in the swim and run. So triathletes, duathletes, aquathletes, kasama yan. Okay, but before we dive deep into our discussion for our last episode, allow me to give you a quick rundown to refresh your memories on what GSSI actually is, as there may be new viewers today for our last session, or just curious viewers who may have forgotten what GSSI is all about. So allow me to give you a quick run through on that. So GSSI, or the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, was brought about to bring the science of hydration and nutrition beyond the lab. They've got a long, very long history in sports science research and education under their belt. Okay. Their aim is to continuously find innovative ways to spread the science of hydration and nutrition to sino-sino? Coaches, nutritionists, sports communities, and athletes all over the world. We can even sum it up in 3 words: educate, hydrate, and nominate. Don't forget that. Of course, to do that, they need to share the information they have, which is why we are here to listen to a live webinar led by experts and professionals in the field. So, it's time to get, dati sinasabi ko, ball rolling or dribbling. Ito iba. It's time to get those arms moving. Time to get those wheels of your bicycles rolling. And time to get those feet running. Ayos ba yan? Because today's topic is all about the science of endurance. Okay? And we'll learn about the science behind how you can play harder, longer, and stronger. For our topic today, how you can swim, bike, and run harder, longer, and stronger. Okay, our special guests will help us learn about athletic performance and how to enhance it with the right balance of training, nutrition, and hydration. Of course, it's not only for professional athletes, but anyone who wants to keep themselves in tip-top shape, di ba? Even daddies like me, to be, ayaw mo naman yung dad bod, di ba? You'd like to have a nice athletic body kahit papano. It's pretty relevant today because we all need to keep our health as our top priority. Am I right? Di ba? Give me maraming mga thumbs up or heart na ano dyan, agreement kung tama ako. Comment if you think I'm right in saying that. So, for today, we'll tackle endurance training, which we will hear from, of course, one of the known coaches in the multi-sport world, Coach Annie De Leon Brown. And we will also delve into endurance, nutrition, and hydration, which will be discussed by GSSI's principal scientist, Dr. Michelle King. And then at the end, after the first segment, second segment natin, we'll get to have an open discussion with our very special guests, professional triathletes, elite triathletes in Kim Mangrobang, Fer Caceres, and of course, the Nico Huelgas. Loaded tayo ngayon. So, folks, do send your questions regarding these topics by being busy, the comment section below, and we'll be glad to discuss these during the Q&A later on. Of course, we'll be doing shout outs. Uy, I want to say hello to the good Vice Mayor Usama Dimaporo. Ay, Sammy D pala to. Sorry. Sammy D, is this you? Yes, it's Sammy D watching us right now. I stand corrected. Sammy D from Tri-SND Barracudas. We got Josh Ramos all the way from Baguio Benguet triathlon team. My goodness, you guys are all here. Okay? Thank you guys for watching. Okay? And then I'll do some shout outs later on. Second, get a chance to receive, dahil last episode na natin, special giveaways from Gatorade, such as to, ganda to socks. Gatorade socks. Make sure that you join us later on in the trivia. Ano pa? Squeeze bottle. Yes! Believe me, kasya to sa bike cage kasi ginagamit ko to. Okay? And apart from this, you'll get this nice Gatorade shirt. Nothing beats Gatorade. Okay? And all of these things will be loaded into this nice backpack. Na, for the multi-sport athletes out there or engaging in swim, bike, and run, pwede na rin transition bag. Diba? Small transition bag, enough to put the essentials. All right? And lastly, for those of you who'd like to receive a certificate of attendance, please stay with us until the end of the show because we will be flashing a QR code for you to sign up and answer a quick survey. Take note, that QR code will only be flashed at the end of the live show. Meaning, pag na-upload yan mamaya sa Facebook, you won't be able to see that. So if you want to get that certificate of attendance, watch until the end of the show. Okay? Ito na. Here we go. We'll have our very first special guest for our last session. Mahaba to, but please allow me to mention yung mga accolades niya. She is um, the Philippine National Triathlon Team High Performance Coach, Certified Level 2 Triathlon Coach, World Triathlon, Asia Tri Coach of the Year in 2015, SwimBikeRun.ph Coach of the Year in 2017, first ITU Certified Female Multisport Coach in the Philippines, first and only Trizuto Certified Coach in the Philippines, an Ironman Certified Coach, the Next Step Tri Coach and Manager, coach ko yan, kasama ako dyan kahit nasalingkit pa ako. Palarong pambansa gold medalist, 3 times national triathlon champion, twice SEA Games athlete for cycling and triathlon, and 3 times Ironman Hawaii World Championship finisher, 3 times qualifier. My goodness, the list is endless! Endless po yan! Woohoo! And allow me to introduce itong super duper husay na coach natin, our very own Filipina Iron Woman and champion triathlete. Kung tawagin ay nanay ng kanyang mga estudyante. Pero ako, hindi pwedeng nanay. Ate lang. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting all the way from Santa Rosa, Laguna, Coach Annie De Leon Brown! Woohoo! Ayos ba, Coach? Nakamute ka yan. Ayan. Ayos ba? Did you like that?
Hi. Thank you for the very warm welcome and very generous introduction.
Before I
can always
let you go
rely
on
on you
your
for that, Chiki.
Thanks, Coach. Before I let you out on your presentation, Coach, quickly, how are you doing? How is the weather there in Santa Rosa? I know you've been busy the past months, training athletes who will be competing internationally, training athletes who will be competing locally in our multi-sport races, di ba? Every weekend, mandami na yan, no? So, I said a mouthful, but Coach, how are you doing?
Great. In terms of sports, I think we are officially back. We this year. Maybe it's a slow start, but then every weekend na lang tayo nga low. Mawala yata. Can you
Sige lang, Coach. Medyo
uh,
it really happens. Pumipitik-pitik talaga minsan. So, Coach, nice to know that things are doing well from your end. Can you hear me now?
I think so. So yeah. Um, eh, yes, I can.
Hello, Coach? Alam nyo, doon po sa viewers natin, it has happened to us in the past. When I would interview Coach din, talagang sometimes these things happen. But we'll try to get Coach Annie De Leon Brown back again. We'll try it again one more time to our tech team in the back. Can you try to pull her back in? Coach, if you could hear me, maybe you can try turning off your camera for a while and then clicking it back on. Might be good. Ayan. Naka-mute ka lang, Coach.
I'm
Naka-mute lang.
back. Sorry.
Ayan. Go.
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, thank you for asking. Yes, for all ages, for all abilities, and both foreign and local, the races are back. So we've all been busy so far.
Good to hear that, Coach. And I think all our viewers right now, as we gather more viewers coming in, would love to hear from the Iron Woman of a Philippine multi-sport. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, presenting you the great coach, my coach, our coach, Coach Annie De Leon Brown. Take it away, Coach.
Thanks, Chicky. So I'm going to have a presentation today about racing strategies, endurance racing. Ayan pala yung title. Strategy for Success in Endurance Racing. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to focus week since we don't have a lot of time. So we're gonna try to maximize. Next slide, please. So I'm going to preparation first. Let's do it step by step. So on race week, you double check all your equipment and gear. 1 week before, make sure everything is ready. Tune up your bike. Maybe if you need to change your tires, etc. Yung prepare nutrition, we're gonna go into much detail about that topic, nutrition and hydration, with Dr. Michelle King on. But it should be of your race checklist. And during the race weekend, so we're in I2 now, a lot of people get overwhelmed with all maybe there's a race expo, if it's a major event, and they see all socialize before the race. So before you know it, they've stayed in the sun for so long, and they may get dehydrated in the process, and they're walking too long, staying on their feet. So just be mindful of all those stuff, and try to limit it. And also, sleep is even more important this week, because sometimes the night before the race, because you're super excited, it's hard to sleep, and that's normal. So try to have baon, so to speak. You have already some rest or a lot of sleep in the bank. And the massage, you may or may not have this part of your routine, but it's also important to know when to time it. I've done it in the past that I've timed it like too close to the race, which is the day before, and the results were not good. Ideally, you should treat it as a kind of training session, because it does uh, tear some muscle fibers in the process. So you need to schedule it at the very least 2 days away from your race. And then again, top up your glycogen stores. Like I said earlier, Michelle will go in detail about this. But it felt like it's an important part of your preparation. Next. So this is an example of a race checklist. You can keep adding to this. This is quite basic. If you're traveling to a cold climate, this will be longer depending on what kind of race you're doing. If you need to travel by plane, then of course you need to make sure everything is packed well. But these are the basic things, just to uh, give you a run through of the process. Maybe you can go one by one. Okay, when I set up my transition, this is what I need. And then when I swim, this is what I'm gonna use or what I'm gonna drink beforehand, etc. And then when I'm in transition one, um, this is what I'm gonna put on. So one by one, you can also go through it in your mind. And then apart from this checklist, which maybe you can take a screenshot of, you can add on to that. I personally add a first aid kit and some supplements. Maybe you take regular vitamins or emergency medicine like anti-allergy, antacid, anti-diarrhea, stuff like that. So depending on the location of the race, sometimes it's very hard to get those things. So it might be smart to add on that stuff. Okay. Next, please. So I'm going to go again one by one. Let's start with the swim. Here are some swim strategies that you can use. Again, this is for any level of athlete. So the starting position, don't just like swim mindlessly. If you have an option or you have a choice, try to make sure you're navigating well. Before you even start, try to decide which line you're going to take, which is the smartest, fastest way that you will do less meters, right? And then there are things to consider. Is it in a pool? Is it in the open water? Is it wavy? Is there a current? Which direction? So maybe you need to know all these things. And where is the flow? Is it counterclockwise or is it clockwise? So maybe you may need to adjust your breathing pattern, right or left, etc. Sometimes you already have the race map way ahead of time on the website, so you can already tell the direction of the swim flow. And again, another thing to consider, is it starting from the sand? Are you running towards the swim start? Is it a rolling start? Is it on the platform where you need to dive or jump? Or is it a deep water start? Like a lot of athletes are leaving this week already for the World Championships in Kona, and that's a water start. So you need to prepare for those things, and that way you won't be rattled from the start. You already are going to be nervous. That's part of it. So this minimizes it if you can plan ahead. Next. So the pacing by default will be initially very fast, let's say within the first 3 to 5 minutes, because people are excited, and by default, you're not going to start really slow unless you're very, very emotionally intelligent. But it's just natural. Just be mentally prepared to be a little bit above average with your pacing, and then just settle into it. Be conscious that, okay, I need to settle down and get into the actual pace that I can sustain throughout the swim distance. And again, just as a reminder, your breathing pattern is also, it directly affects your effort or energy expenditure. So you have to practice this as well. So your stroke rate and your breathing pattern, you can control that. If you want to control your heart rate, maybe you need to lower your breathing cycle. Okay? But sometimes those things are, racing is dynamic. So you, again, in the first few minutes, you have to be conscious of controlling all of those things. Next. All right, sighting. This is something that even elite athletes still need practice with, and that's okay. You just need to make sure you sight to begin with, because a lot of people, most triathletes in fact, train in the swimming pool, and they forget that the race is actually in open water, wherein they need to make sure they're going in the right direction. There are no tiles on the floor or no lean ropes in most races, and then you make sure that you do not exceed more than 10 strokes before looking forward. So you don't just make sure you put your head up, and just for the sake of it, you put your head up. It doesn't even have to be high, as long as your eyes have clearance, and then you can see. Most of the time, you need to sight a buoy. So as long as you see the buoy, you sight the buoy, and you're still going the right way, then that's good. Do not get nervous if it's wavy or choppy. Just keep trying every couple of strokes, and then you'll be able to see it. If you need to take a breaststroke pull, for example, then do so. It's better than swimming in the wrong direction for 10 extra strokes. So sometimes it's wavy or choppy. Do not slam into the wave. If it's too high, just try to either stay on top of it or underneath it. And do not blindly follow swimmers in front of you, because you cannot trust that they are going the right way. You need to make sure you sight for yourself. Okay, next. Using the energy of the person in front of you to lessen your own energy expenditure, so to speak. So you're using them to remove resistance from your own swim, so from your own efforts. And this is legal in the swim portion of the race. Mind you, this is not legal in the biking portion for most of the events except for World Triathlon Racing. Okay, so take advantage if you happen to find some swimmer who is swimming in the right way, meaning navigating properly and similar to your own pace, and especially if it's a long distance, then take advantage. If you don't know how to draft, then never mind. Because again, maybe you're who is doing a much slower pace or who is navigating poorly. So you're better off swimming on your own instead. But if you're going to draft, be respectful of one another and don't keep tapping the feet or the leg or other body parts of that person. Because, I mean, that person is already helping you. You don't want to irritate them, right? And in the end, you're still accountable for your own navigation. If, for example, the swimmer in front of you starts deviating, then keep going in the right way. Okay, next. So it cannot be helped that, especially for beginners, they panic at the start. And this happens if it's a mass start as well, or there are too many people around you, especially in the open water. So this is natural, and it's especially in the first few minutes. I would say first 3 to 5 minutes again, because of all the nerves, and then the effort, the sudden swimming in the cold water sometimes. So it's okay to hold on to something like a buoy, or if there's a kayak or a paddle board beside you, you can hold on to that. And you can take some moments to regroup, and also by doing another stroke while you are hovering. You can float on your back, or you can do breaststroke if that makes you feel much more relaxed. And then when you've settled down, you can go back to doing your freestyle. But if you really need help and you really feel it, you cannot push through anymore, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Okay, it's only a race. You don't need to risk your life for it. There will be others. Okay, next. So some overtaking maneuvers, if you're faster in the you're swimming faster than the person in front of you, just overtake slightly off course and then go back to the line that you want. And the aggressive approach is just keep battering on and maybe hit some people in the process, but be prepared to also have get struck back in the process if you choose to do that. All right. Okay, we're going to the bike strategies now. Again, pacing is crucial. Maybe also for the initial few kilometers of the bike, people get excited and overdo the pace and push too hard. Just remember, anytime your heart rate goes too high for prolonged periods, it will be so much harder to recover from that. And sometimes um, it you won't recover until the after the race finishes. Okay, so just try to make sure that you are doing even pacing and even efforts. And remember, it's not a cycling race. Ang dami ko kasing kilala na gustong-gusto nilang tingnan yung bike split nila. It's not about who has the best bike split. It's about who has the best total time. All right? Next. Okay, nutrition and hydration, I'll just touch up quickly. It's easiest to eat and drink during the bike leg. Obviously, you can't eat or drink while you're in the water. And then when you're running, it's just a little bit harder because your stomach is bouncing up and down. But make sure you don't eat solid or semi-solid food like gels immediately after getting out of T1. Maybe just gargle some drink first or water and let your stomach adjust to being on dry land. And then after a while, you can, maybe 10 minutes or so, you can start taking in your solids. And space it so that when you're nearing T2 or when you're about to finish your bike leg, when you're almost going to start on your run, don't you also taper down your intake. So somewhere in the middle of the bike, that's the best time to take in food. The amount of liquids and calories will also depend on what the distance or the intensity is. All right, bike strategies. Get into a good rhythm. This is actually true for swim, bike, and run. And focus on the present. Focus on your cadence and your nutrition. If you need to drink every 10 minutes or so, if you drink your gel every 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so, just concentrate on doing that. You need to mind your own race because people will pass. Okay, a lot of cyclists will pass and maybe they're going too fast for you, but maybe you will run faster than them. So don't mind them. Do what you are capable of and stay within that. All right, next. Hey, run strategies. So after coming off T2, sometimes, especially if it's a long distance race, um, you need to just focus on good technique first or good form. Because if you push too hard straight out of T2, you might hurt something. You might pull something or you might cramp even, especially if it's a full Ironman, for example. So focus on straightening up first, good posture, good cadence. Again, those are things you can control. And then when you've settled into a good rhythm, maybe after the first 1 or 2 kilometers, then you can adjust to the actual running pace that you can sustain throughout the distance. Obviously, if you're just doing a 3K runoff or 5K runoff, the adjustment period should be less. And it's probably given that you bike lesser distance as well. So, depending on the race distance, it's always good to either way focus on good technique. And then make sure if it's a long distance that you're covering, do not get overwhelmed with, oh my God, I have to now run 42K. Don't do that to yourself. Just focus on one step at a time. Focus on the kilometer in front of you. Okay? And make sure you do all the things, manage your hydration, manage your nutrition, and that will get you to the finish line. All right? So if this is mostly true for 70.3 or Ironman distance racing, if you get into a bad patch, maybe because you pushed too hard on the bike, for example, or you just didn't hydrate or eat enough uh, in the first part of your race, you don't worry, it's not the end. Okay, you can nurse your way out of a bad patch. Maybe just slow down your pacing first and make sure you take in something in the next aid station. Okay, most of the time this is the problem for longer distance racing. They get what we call this bonking, or you run out of calories, and but since you have time to eat, then make sure you focus on that. And if you cramp, you can just slow down your pace as well. So the first thing is to get to the finish line. Don't worry about uh, your time, your pace that you were planning to do and you can't do it anymore. Don't worry about that. Just again, focus on what you can control at the moment. Next. So this is something that I do personally, to keep me focused. A lot of the time, people ask me, "What do you think when you're? What do you think about when you're racing? It's such a long day, especially for Ironman distance, for example." Um, well, I really just focus on making sure I eat well, I drink well, I time everything. So the last time I ate was this time. Now, after 45 minutes, I need to take a gel. Example. But I also use mantras to keep me upbeat and to make sure I'm constantly focusing on my form. So in the run, this is even more crucial because you're even more tired already. So these are some examples that you can copy. You may have your own already, but these are some that I use. Fast arms, fast feet. Okay, so that's just a way of making sure I have good cadence or SPM. Run tall is a keyword for making sure I have good posture and alignment. Breathe is something that you can use to make sure you don't breathe too shallowly and in the process accelerate your heart rate unnecessarily. And then smooth. So smooth, fluid, flow. These are some nice words that make you just feel good in general. All right. Next. So we've gone through the swim, bike, and run. Here are some transition strategies. So for T1, which is the first one, from swim to bike, make sure everything is laid out in a position which will make it easier. From when you get out of the swim, wag yung like the helmet is in the wrong side that you have to twist it around. Just everything that will be easier for you. Like even the sunglasses, don't make it like opposite of the side that you put it on. And again, this is important. Make sure the bike gear is set in the ideal combo. Now, this will depend on if you go out of transition. Is there a hill? Is it flat, etc.? Okay, so it will also depend on the course setup. And be mindful of the mount line. A lot of people mount before the mount line and get penalized as a result. Sayang naman, right? Those few seconds extra. And this one I mentioned already earlier. Out of T1, do not take solid food immediately. Next. So T2 now is from the bike to run. Again, before you dismount, make sure you dismount before the dismount line. And again, to exit T2, ease into the run and avoid starting out too fast. All right, next. So here are just some general tips. So race week and race day success is all about energy management. Like I mentioned initially in the presentation, sometimes people get distracted, during race week, and there's only meet and greet, there's like this pro coming, etc. And then you forget about you trained so many months, and then you get so tired because you want to do all the things. You want to have dinners and lunches and everything. You can do all of that after. Okay? So remember, it's your race. Control what you can control. Don't copy the routine of other people. Don't copy. You have your own body clock. You have your own sessions that you're used to. So stick to that. And last but not the least, have a grateful heart because it's not everybody who can race and be fit and healthy. And the reason why you are doing this in the first place is because you want to have fun and you want to achieve your goals also. So just enjoy and you'll have a great race. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Very much, Coach Annie. And I was listening, nodding my head, and even dun sa mantra, have that nice mantra, that's really nice. We'll talk more about that, Coach Annie. I will be parking you virtually in our backstage. And then later on, we're going to bring Coach Annie De Leon Brown back for some Q&A, because we have a lot of I believe we have a lot of questions already from our viewers who have tuned in, and would like to ask them to you. Okay, Coach. So again, a virtual round of applause for Coach Annie De Leon Brown.
Thank
Woo-hoo!
you.
See you again, Coach. All right. So, guys, reminding all of you to please send your questions at the chat box down there. Let's keep it busy. If not, say hello to us. We'd love to hear from you. If I have a chance later on, of course, I'll do a shout out to all of you. Second, you get to win prizes when we go to our trivia game later on. We got 8 questions. So 8 chances of winning the backpack, the bottle, the shirt, and the socks. And then lastly, our certificate of attendance, if you'd like to have that towards the end of the show. Okay, we move on to our next speaker, who will be discussing the endurance nutrition in this part of our webinar series. Okay, our second guest is an expert in exercise physiology, thermoregulation, muscle physiology, and exercise immunology. That's a tongue twister there. She studied BS exercise science, chemistry, and psychology at Millikan University, MS kinesiology at the University of Illinois, and she has a doctorate degree exercise physiology at the University of Florida. As for her scientific background, she is a principal scientist at the GSSI, has a postdoctoral fellowship at the U.S. Army Research Institute, and is a graduate assistant at the University of Florida. In her free time, check this out, she enjoys long runs. I wonder how long those long runs are. And track workouts. In fact, she ran cross country and was a track runner for Millikan University. My goodness, a super athlete as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's all listen to learn more about endurance nutrition and hydration from Dr. Michelle King. Hi, Michelle.
Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the introduction.
Nice to have you here. And when I read one of your favorite things to do, like run long runs, just to let you know, a lot of our Filipino viewers watching us right now love to do long runs. In fact, a long run will be coming up this February 2023, and they'd love probably to hear more about how they can prepare for that. So before anything else,
Yeah.
Michelle, where are you right now in the world, and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm in Chicago, Illinois right now. So it's the early morning hours here, but feeling great. Excited to talk to everyone.
Nice to hear that. And when you said Chicago, I couldn't help but look at this guy behind me, who
I
obviously
know. I know. It's so
played for
appropriate. I love it.
played for
Yep.
for the
The
Chicago
Bulls.
Bulls. Anyway, Michelle, our viewers are excited to hear from you before they pop their questions towards your direction. So, viewers, without any further ado, once again, give a virtual round of applause for Dr. Michelle King. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We can go ahead and get started. There we are. Yeah, so today we'll go ahead and talk about some quick tips for your endurance nutrition. So Coach Annie had some already really great tips for you guys. So we don't have a lot of time, so we're just going to try to hit the key points. So you guys can go ahead and go on to the next slide, and we can get started. So we'll talk about 3 basic components today, and hopefully this will send you on your way to a successful race. So we want to talk about fluid, or what we need for hydration. We want to talk about what we need for energy, or carbohydrate. And then we want to talk about what we need to recover, or protein. So we can jump into the hydration, so we can go to that next slide. People always want to know, okay, so Michelle, what do I drink and when and how much, how am I going to get into this? So there's a few guidelines that we can go to on the next slide. So before, it's really a nice practice to just make sure you're starting all of your sessions hydrated. So again, we have these rules down here about, 5 to 7 milliliters per kg, about 4 hours prior, and then a little bit 2 hours prior. But again, remember that hydration, you want to try to keep hydrated throughout the day, the days before leading up to the race, before your session, after your session. So really just kind of keep it as a daily, practice, making sure you're hydrated, making sure that urine color is light like lemonade, we say. So again, just kind of make sure that this is a normal practice. If for some reason you feel you were dehydrated, or maybe your session was extra long, then you can go ahead and just make sure you're drinking those fluids. Have something with a little bit of electrolytes or sodium to help you retain that fluid. Okay. And then we can move on to the next one for during. So this is really where some fun calculations come in. The goal of our hydration strategy during endurance exercise should be to avoid greater than 2% body mass loss. And why do we do that? Because especially in the hot, and especially for you guys in the hot and humid conditions, this will decrease our performance, and we'll also start to just feel worse, right? You guys know that. So we want to keep that in check. So how do we know how much to drink during? Well, this amount is going to be based on your sweat rate. And everyone has a very different sweat rate based on a combination of things. So fitness, climatization, body composition. So all of these things go into your sweat rate. So you're like, Michelle, how do I know what my sweat rate is? Well, on the next slide, there's a really simple equation. Sweat rate you can look at as just the amount of weight you lost plus your fluid intake divided by that duration of exercise. So there's a lot of great fluid calculators out there. So we have one on GSSI web. If you don't, if you can't remember this, but really all you have to do is just weigh yourself in before your session, weigh yourself out after, and then try, if you do a short session, it makes it easier because then you won't be taking in any fluids, and then you can just divide by that duration. So if you just do an hour, then you can see that sweat rate. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And then again, you can just calculate, okay, so how long is my race going to be? What do I need to do to avoid no greater than 2% body mass loss? Okay. And then for the next slide, what do we do after? This is really, again, depending on how much you lost. So we have these kind of goals of about 20 to 24 ounces per pound loss, which for you guys, we think of about a little bit over a liter per kg, so about 1.3 liters per kg lost. But again, depending on what you're doing, what your activity level is, where you are in your training status, and if you have another session, you can kind of rehydrate throughout the day. Don't try to, down this all at once, but do just kind of think about what you have planned next. So if you have a morning session and then you have an afternoon session, just kind of make sure that you're getting back to that baseline, or getting back to your hydration, or kind of that normal hydration status before you get started again. Okay. And then we can go on to our next component on the next slide. So carbohydrates. So this is going to be what really fuels our performance, right? This is going to be our energy that we need to sustain that performance. Okay. So what to eat and when? So we can go on and to the next slide. So here are some general recommendations, right? So again, get to know the grams of carbohydrates in your food. This is one of the things, as I became an endurance runner way back when in high school, I started to realize, oh, this food has this many grams of carbohydrate. This has this. So try to be more cognizant of that. About 3 to 4 hours, you want to take in about 1 to 4 grams per kg. 1 hour before, this is a good kind of general recommendation, about 25 grams. And then during, this is again where Coach Annie had some really great advice about when to take in your nutrients. About 30 to 60 grams per hour. Okay. And remember, that's if you're going for these longer sessions. And it sounds like a lot of you guys are Iron men and women. It's going to be great. We're all looking forward to Kona. We'll be out there with you guys as well. And then after, usually do about 1 to 1.2 grams per kg. And again, you can kind of do this as you normally would. But if you have, less than 8 hours until your next competition, then you really want to make sure you get back to those kind of normal fuel levels and kind of top off those muscle glycogen stores. Okay. So we can go to the next slide to focus on during a little bit more. So I like this slide, even though it's a table. I refer to it all the time, and this is a great little kind of helpful tool about exactly how many carbohydrates you need per hour. And again, this also will depend on your tolerance. So just like Coach Annie was saying, get to know how much works for you, depending on your pace, depending on your GI comfort. We can go for about 30 to 60 grams per hour of most carbohydrates and rapidly oxidized forms of carbohydrate if we're going from anywhere from 1 to about 3 hours. So you kind of play around with that range. Anything up or above that 2.5 or 3 hours, you can actually get up to 90 grams per hour. But again, that is tough for some individuals to take that much in. So really get to know, what your needs are, what your exercise intensity is going to be, what that duration is going to be, okay? So you can see that duration on the left side. And then again, remember the other thing that's neat about these different types of carbohydrates is that if we combine or blend glucose and fructose, we can actually take in or absorb more of that, okay? So that's going to help us perform better as well, okay? So that's it for our carbohydrate. And then we can go on to our next slide. And this, again, this is just a little reference slide to go ahead and tell you, here are some of the quickly oxidized carbohydrates and here are some of those slowly oxidized. So again, when we take a combination of these, like the glucose to fructose, then you'll see we can actually take up to 90 grams per hour. So again, just something to kind of quickly reference when you're looking through those nutrition labels. All right, next slide. And then so recovery. So we have our fluid, we have our carbohydrate for performance, and then what do we need to do to recover? Well, the key thing is that we need some protein. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So what's good for most athletes? Well, usually we think about 20 grams every 3 hours. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb. You want it to be a complete protein. You want it to be something that's rapidly digested and absorbed, and also rich in leucine. So this is something that will help initiate that muscle protein synthesis. So just kind of be looking for that. There's also a lot of really neat evidence out there about taking protein before sleep and how it can help with the recovery process. So we'll go for about 20 to 40 grams before you sleep. So this is something traditionally I think people in the past used to shy away from, but it is a really great way to help the body recover and kind of optimize that recovery pattern. And there is there is a lot of neat research out there about different types of protein, either casein or whey overnight, but all are great. Just think about your complete proteins, things that can be rapidly digested and absorbed, and then have that leucine to kickstart that muscle protein synthesis. Okay. So that's it as far as your protein. So you can go ahead. So again, these are just kind of some basic quick tips and quick rules. Please feel free if you have any questions to reach out to me and we can talk more in the Q&A. But hopefully this will be a quick little guide for you to ensure some success.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle King. I was taking down notes. I hope you don't mind. I was taking photos, also screenshots of
Awesome.
your presentation. So we'll bring Coach Annie back in as promised. We'll have our Q&A with Coach Annie De Leon Brown and Dr. Michelle King. The comment section, the comment box is open there. Type your questions away. We got some questions here ready for our experts, and so I'll throw in a couple of questions. Don't worry, I'll mention your name to whom the question is addressed to, and later on we'll get more from our viewers. So, Coach Annie, Dr. Michelle, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, Coach Annie, I'll throw the first question to you. As a champion triathlete, all right, or a multi-sport athlete, do you have a regimen that is surefire? I love that term, surefire, to hype you up before every triathlon race that you've joined. Is there a regimen, Coach?
Yes, for me, it's music, listening to my favorite music. I have a race playlist. And then obviously everyone has to do a proper warm up. And yeah, those are the two most consistent things I do in every race.
You better share that playlist to all of us, okay? Because we'd love to
Yes.
Sure.
be would love to be as fast and as good as Coach Andy. I would be at awe if that playlist is full of love songs. Okay, so uh, we'll go to
No,
Dr.
it's not.
Michelle. It's not okay, Dr. Michelle. This one's for you. In your opinion, what is the best way to train your endurance, or to have that nice good level of endurance that you can even do at home or outside of training? Go ahead, Dr. Michelle.
Yeah, so Coach Annie, I'm excited to hear what she has to say about this question too. But remember, we have this thing called specificity of training. So you always want to train for what event you're going to prepare for. So if you're going to do primarily marathons, then you're going to run. If you're going to do tries, then you want to get in your run, bike, and swim. So again, it is nice in that I do love triathlon as a sport because you can run outside. It's really great. You can bike outside. Swimming becomes a little bit harder for people to access sometimes. But again, if you're trying to think about things you can do at home as far as cardiorespiratory fitness, always great to put on those running shoes, get in some nice base mileage. So again, depending on what time of year you're starting and where you're
Mhm.
at in your training cycle, that will depend on kind of where you should go. And then you can start with that nice base mileage and then start progressing to those higher intensity sessions.
Thanks, Dr. Michelle. You guys spoke about triathlon races. Just a quick shout out those competing this week, and those going to Jordan,
Yep.
those going to Vermosa, those going to Kona next week. All right, those competing October 6th, October 8th in the big dance in Hawaii. Good luck to you guys, especially the Philippine
Good luck.
contingent, over 40 athletes. So good luck. Good luck. Don't forget to
Good
drink your
luck.
Gatorade, okay? Drink your Gatorade. All right, don't forget that.
Yes, the
Okay,
official
go.
drink on the race course.
I know you have to drink that. Okay. Shout out to JP Cabero and Miss Mela Javier watching us right now. Coach Annie, I go back to you. With years of coaching experience under your belt. In fact, I was kidding earlier, top of the coverage, that your students even call you nanay. Dr. Michelle, in English, that's a term for mother. Our term of endearment for Coach Annie. Okay, we call her mother, call her nanay. Um, in your years of coaching experience under your belt, Coach Annie, what's something you'd recommend your students, your athletes, to do even outside of training? I've read a lot of your reminders in our chat group, so hope you could share some of those to our viewers. Coach Annie?
Well, actually, Dr. Michelle King mentioned it in her presentation to get enough sleep. So that is the best way to recover and the easiest way to up your performance level, really.
Rest, right? Rest. Don't forget to sleep, especially
Yes.
the young ones, the millennials. They think that sleeping at 12 midnight and waking up at 8 o'clock is the same 8 hours as sleeping at 9 o'clock. It's totally different, right? Totally different. Okay, thanks, Coach Annie. Dr. Michelle, I jump back to you. Okay, given that athletes play in different conditions, some are air conditioned venues, right? Open air grounds, etc. How can they make sure that they don't get muscle spasms, cramps, or sudden chills that can affect their game?
Yeah. So this is a really good question, and I could honestly talk for a long time about it. But as far as muscle exercise associated muscle cramping, a lot of it has to do with the fatigue of the muscle. So the best way to actually help yourself prevent these is to have proper training, right? So a lot of times, if you go out too fast or too hard, you'll start to cramp up. So just like Coach Annie was saying, make sure you kind of have those good training sessions. And then once you get to the race, really mind your pace, really kind of understand, I'm going to be excited not to go out too hard. But then there is another line of thought that it could come into play with hydration status or electrolyte content. Again, there is differences in the literature there, but it's always good practice to make sure you're hydrated and make sure that you have electrolytes on board. So just something to consider as well. So make sure again that exercise is properly periodized and you're hitting those important training sessions so you're ready to perform at this higher intensity, and then also just make sure you kind of keep that nice baseline of hydration.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. To our viewers out there, if you noticed, Dr. Michelle kept on mentioning that word hydration, right? So, whether you're a weekend warrior, a seasoned athlete, don't forget before, during, and after. You have to hydrate before, during, and after. Don't wait for your body to conk out, all right? Coach Annie, I jump back to you. I love this. This is from Reynaldo Hizon. Coach, how to improve my skills and footwork? Mm. Coach Annie,
Okay,
how do you answer that?
okay. Um, sometimes people think you have to do overly complicated things to help you with your running. But generally, all you need to do is make sure you strengthen your tendons and joints and muscles, and even walking can help with that. So, obviously, the run drills that we do before the main set of a run session. So, there are a number of drills that we have in our bank, like skipping drills, bounding drills, high knees, etc. So, lateral running. Those are things that maybe you can switch it up. I also ask my athletes to do backward drills, so it's not always forward movement. So in general, just make sure your feet are prepared for any situation. Sometimes you run on trails, sometimes you run uphill. So just do something with variety with every session. Don't make it monotonous, and that will make sure that will help your feet be stronger and be more agile.
Thanks, Coach Annie. As you were answering that question, I was looking at our chat box here, and one person who I think is following your instructions because he finished well in last weekend's race was Dennis Borbolia. Wow, Dennis, you did an
Ang
awesome job in
lakas.
malakas. Send Dennis to Palawan. That's the hashtag there. Doc Michelle, I go back to you. This is nice. It concerns quote unquote the fuel that you put inside your body. Okay, so what do you eat a day before the race, and
Mm.
also on a normal day when you train? So is there any difference, Dr. Michelle, on what you should eat before a race and on your normal day?
Yeah, so Coach Annie already kind of gave some good hints here, but I think for athletes, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing leading up to the race is going to be comfortable for your stomach. It's not going to cause any GI distress. For me personally, I always keep a very kind of similar diet so that I know, what's going into my body, the composition, what I'll have. I know what I'll have for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. And just like she was saying, you want to make sure you have those carbohydrate, levels topped off. So you don't want to be restricting. You don't want to be on any kind of diet. You just want to really make sure you're good to go for that race. But again, don't try anything new. This is hard when you're traveling for races. So
Uh-huh.
be mindful of that too. You know what might be available to you. A lot of times it's good to kind of bring your own food as much as you can, because it does become hard when you're traveling, to see different options that are available. But again, from my perspective, just have something that the content that you're going to be taking in, and it won't upset your stomach. It won't make you stay up at night. Anything like that.
Michelle, I hope you don't mind. I'll inject my personal question. Just a quick
Please do.
question here. You mentioned 20 to 40 grams of protein before one sleeps. Any example of type of food that would weigh about 20 to 40 grams before sleeping.
Yeah, so it just depends on the composition, but a lot of times people will do like a milk. You can do like a pure whey protein shake. A lot
Okay.
of times people will do a cottage cheese or milks, anything like that that has that whey in that casein.
Okay. So guys, make sure that you look at the components of what you eat and make sure they have that nice, friendly, small weighing scale
Yeah,
that you can use at
yeah,
home. Okay.
I
Coach
know.
Annie, I jump back into you. Incidentally, Coach Annie, Dr. Michelle, later on, if you have the time when we go to our guest athletes, if you could answer some of the questions that we won't be able to pull out because these are a lot. We have a lot of questions from the chat box. It would be nice. If not, to our viewers, don't
Sure.
worry. We're going to gather all your questions, send it to Coach Annie and Dr. Michelle, and we'll make sure that they give their replies there. Okay, Coach Annie, this is from Angelina Reyes. I love this question because it involves people who are trying to go into different types of sporting events. I am in competitive trail running and always curious about completing triathlon or duathlon. Is it too late for the late 20s like me? Where do I start? Since I'm running na, how can I balance it with training for swim and biking? Before you answer, I'll say, not too late, Angie. I am already 48 and I'm still training with Coach Annie. Coach Annie, go ahead.
Actually, I was gonna start also with that. Late 20s doesn't sound very old to me. Honestly, I've had people who are actually going to Kona this weekend who started in their 40s and now they're heading off to Kona. All right. Shout out to Mamita.
Mamits!
Anyway,
Yes.
so yeah, it's 20s is awesome, right? You have a long way to go. And since you're already running, that's 1 out of 3. So introduce one sport, done, and then next, introduce the next sport. So maybe if you are currently running, let's say you're running 4 times a week, maybe you can now run 2 times a week and swim 2 times a week until you get the hang of that routine, and then maybe you can add add back another run session, like maybe 3 running sessions and then 2 swimming sessions, and so on and so forth until you get the hang of you know the established new schedule and adapting to the swimming fitness. So it's as Dr. Michelle King mentioned earlier, there is such a thing as sport specificity. So you may be a super fit runner, but you still need to develop the fitness for swimming. So if now you feel confident that you have both run fitness and then swim fitness over time, and then you can add a third sport now and then develop that and again juggle the schedule throughout the week. Don't worry, you don't need to do long sessions for all of them. If you have 30 minutes, that's fine. Okay? Sometimes 20 minutes is all you have, and that's still fine. The more important thing for me is frequency or consistency as opposed to the duration. When you get that routine established, then
So,
again, when you're
so we got cut a little bit there. It's okay, Coach, no problem. I think you were able to mention a big chunk of the meat of the answer. And as I was reading the comment of Angelina, sabi niya, I got so kilig while you guys were answering my questions, sabi niya, Coach Annie. You know what, Angelina, for you to be extra happy, I suggest you reach out to Coach and be part of our Next Step Try team, and would love to see you in Santa Rosa, Laguna to train with us. That would be nice. Okay, Michelle, I go back to you, Dr. Michelle. For an endurance athlete, this is from Prachi. I hope I pronounced it correctly. What percentage of carbohydrates should a sports drink provide?
Yeah, so you're looking at about a 6%. carbohydrate solution. So they'll range from 6 to 8, but they've done studies to see how well your stomach can support that. So that's about the percent that you're looking for. But you can see, how you can tolerate different levels.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. I jump back to Coach Annie. We got a lot of questions here, so I'm going to keep it's like a tennis match. I'm going to go back and forth with you guys, okay? Coach Annie, this is from Mark Angelo. Does repeated routine equate to endurance? Coach Annie.
Uh, I think I already mentioned the most important thing is to be consistent. Of course, if you are consistent over a prolonged period, then all of those things develop: endurance, strength, speed. If you're working on all of those develop progressively over time. So in terms of routine, again, the frequency, but you also have to make sure it's not a similar session all the time. So throughout the week, maybe not a repeated workout per se. Change it up. Sometimes you're running on hills. Sometimes you do speed work on the track or the treadmill. Sometimes you're just doing, a comfortable run pace where you can converse with your friends. So change it up. And then you develop all of those things.
Thank you, Coach Annie. Before I go to back to Michelle, I love this comment by JP Cabero. He said, "If late 20s is too late, we were fossils when we started multi-sport, Chicky Reyes." Yes, we would become dinosaurs already. Um, Thank you, James. Dr. Michelle, I love this question coming from Alba Larson. We love hacks, right? Secret hacks in this day and age. Is there a secret hack to boost ourselves when the body has reached to a point of exhaustion? Now, if there is one, Dr. Michelle, how can we activate it? I love
Yeah,
that
so
question.
my first point of advice is you don't want to ever get to that point of exhaustion during a race, right? You don't want to bonk, you don't want to go so to where you can't go anymore. It's different if you're doing something like a maximal exercise test where that's the goal. But during the race, you want to make sure you're feeling fueled and you want to make sure you're feeling strong the whole time. So a big part of that is making sure you're taking in that proper carbohydrate and then proper fluid on board as well. So that's really what's going to keep you going through these really long sessions, through these really long day-long types of activities, right? There is other things that you can use like ergogenic aids. A lot of times people will use caffeine when they're talking about like, oh, what can give me a boost? But again, make sure you practice with that. People are different as far as caffeine use. So it is supported in the literature, to boost performance. But again, make sure it works for you and the timing works for you, because there can be a lot of adverse kind of GI distress and things like that for caffeine. But that would probably be the thing that I think of when people say, oh, what can give me a boost? That's what comes to mind.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. I'll pick it up from what you just shared of putting in the right carbohydrates and protein and nutrition in, going to Coach Annie. But prior to that, shout out to Tito June Visbal of the triathlon community watching us right now. Coach Annie, coming from what Dr. Michelle said, put in the right carbohydrates, the right protein, nutrition, whether in training or during the race. Sometimes a lot of people experiment on race day, right? So this is the
Yes.
question from Angelina Reyes again. Angelina, your questions are fantastic. How about sudden bowel movements minutes before or worse during a race? Diba? Is it about the food that we put inside our body that we need to adjust to, or is it a matter of us not experimenting come race day? Coach Annie.
Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Screen hanged. Oh, yeah, there. So it definitely has to do with what you ate. prior to the race, I advise my athletes not to eat too much fibrous food. Again, Dr. Michelle said if you're not used to drinking coffee or caffeine in the morning or during the race, some gels have caffeine. If you're not used to that, that can make you go. So you can avoid that by choosing carefully what you eat prior to race day and during the race. But if it does happen, well, I also carry antacid or anti-diarrhea tablets when I do Ironman, just in case. But sometimes when it happens, you just suck it up, wait for the next portalet, and go. So yeah, and just pray there's a lot of water. It is a natural occurrence, and lesson learned for next race.
I'll add humor, Coach Annie, to your reply. If in case you're racing in the provinces and it happens, don't be shy to knock in any of those houses and say, "May I use your bathroom?"
Correct.
That that
Yes.
is uh, that is accepted. Okay. I know you guys touched on this already, Dr. Michelle and Coach Annie, but uh, Gio Evangelista would love to hear it again, please. Are there any risks? This will be our last question for our first segment. Are there any risks involved in consuming caffeine before an event? Dr. Michelle?
Yeah, so it's funny because they actually used to recommend against caffeine like in the early 90s because they thought it was like a diuretic. But when you look at these smaller or kind of normal levels, it really doesn't it really doesn't do anything normal than any other kind of fluid that you would take in. So that's kind of, you don't have to worry about that in that regard as far as becoming dehydrated. But it does, like we were saying, can create some GI distress. So just be careful about, how much you're taking in and things like that. And then also the dose. So they're used to, again, some of this has adapted over time, but people used to be very weary of taking caffeine to prevent like exertional heat stress or heat stroke. But again, in these kind of normal levels, you should be okay. Just don't take, like seven large coffees of, whatever X amount of milligrams. So just really kind of be cognizant of what you're taking in and make sure it's nothing outside of what you would normally do.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. Love the answer there. Don't experiment. Don't over drink. Don't overtake whatever you guys have been taking before. All right. Wow. We got lots of other questions here. As mentioned, we'll try to forward it to Dr. Michelle and to Coach Annie. But ladies, if you still would like to stay on in the background later on and look at that chat box, we'd love to hear from you and answer directly our viewers. But before I let you go, as always, this is our last session for GSSI Webinar Series 2022. Parting shots, last message for our viewers and for all those who learned a lot from our experts. We'll start with Coach Annie. Coach Annie, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Gatorade, for organizing this. I'm pretty sure so many people benefited from it, and so many people who were maybe hesitant or apprehensive are better informed or have more knowledge now, and it will give them confidence to start. So, thank you so much for organizing it and with such an interesting range of topics and speakers as well. So good luck to all of those people who are both new and experienced athletes. And I hope we um, give you some food for thought and a lot of new knowledge to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you
That's
very
good.
much, Coach Annie De Leon Brown. And may huling pahabol, please don't forget to put down in the chat box your playlist. People are after your playlist. Okay. Dr. Michelle King would like
Sure.
to hear from you before we let you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone. It's always great. I love doing these sessions. It's so fun and energizing. And I always hear lots of great tips and lots of great questions. So, good things for me to take back to the lab and look into some more. But just really have a great time, really enjoy the process of training, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle King. And we would like to wish you well in your next long distance run. I hope you do well in your next long
Thanks.
distance run. All right. So thank you very much, guys, and please do take care. We hope to see you personally soon, and have a Merry Christmas to the both of you. Coach Annie, all the way from Santa Rosa, Laguna. Dr. Michelle King, all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.
All right. Now I really enjoyed that first segment. Again, to our viewers, that's only the first segment. We still have a second segment coming up, but please make sure that you join us for the second part all the way till the end. We have a trivia game towards the end, and also we'll also have our certificate of attendance. If you'd like to have that, make sure that you look for the QR code at the end of the show. All our viewers, thanks for staying with us. Stay with us more because we're moving on to our kwentuhan, okay? We're done with our two special experts, and now we're gonna go to our athletes. Remember, Gatorade is born in the lab and tested on the field. Now, I would like to welcome three more special guest athletes here to talk about their experiences on endurance. And please, would like to invite all of you to also put your questions down there for our super athletes. I will be introducing them one after the other. We'll start with, I would say, the only rose amongst the thorns who'll be flying out tonight to compete for flag and country in Jordan. Okay? First, Filipina. Ladies and gentlemen, to win multiple golds in the 31st Southeast Asian Games in Hanoi, Vietnam, and leaving tonight for Jordan to race for flag and country. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Kim Mangrobang! Woohoo! Ayan, nakamute ka na naman. Nakakalimutan mo i-unmute.
Hi everyone, thank
Oh,
you for having me here.
thanks, Kim. Hang in there, ha? We'll introduce our next athlete para mas masaya yung ating kwentuhan dito. Okay, up next, he is a part of the gold medal winning team that completed the Philippine sweep of all gold medals. And he's a professional triathlete, twice, two-time SEA Games gold medalist. If you're in Nuvali and you see somebody who looks like Fernando Jose Cáceres, yes, that is Fernando Jose Cáceres. Ladies and gentlemen, also known as Fair Cáceres. Hello,
Hey everyone,
Fair.
thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Fair is also, incidentally, Kim is in Santa Rosa, and also Fair is also in Santa Rosa right now. Thanks, Fair. We'll put you in the background first because I'll introduce our third super athlete. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have the first Filipino to win gold at the men's individual triathlon event at the Southeast Asian Games and the current captain of the Philippine national triathlon team, also a two-time SEA Games gold medalist, national triathlete. Let's all welcome Nico Huelga. Hi,
Hey
Nick.
guys, it's good to be back here and guesting for Team Gatorade.
All right. Wow. Nakakatuwa naman. Kompleto na. Nico, nice to see you here. I'd like to bring back Kim and Fair and Nico. Ayan, all four of us in one frame here. So, first up, before the Q&A, quickly, I'll go around the table. Kim, how are you doing right now as we speak?
I'm good. Actually, I'm leaving later for Asian Cup in Jordan, so I will be joining the Team Philippines racing for Asian Cup for Saturday.
Congratulations, ha. Kim, ano lang wag mong bilisan. Gawin mo lang super bilisan lang. Ganun lang gawin mo sa Saturday, para sure tayo dyan. Okay, Fair, how about you? How are you doing right now?
I'm doing fine, thanks. Well, I am actually right now outside because of the poor connection I have inside home. So I might get in home again because it looks like it's gonna rain in about a few minutes. So sorry for that.
It's okay, Fair. For as long as we have you in your audio, that will be fine. Finally, Nico, my friend, how are you doing?
It's good. Good to be back here in Manila kahit for a short while. We came from back-to-back racing the past few weeks. So it's good to rest for a bit. So yeah, saying hi from Makati.
All right. Good, 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 good. Good to have you here also, Nico. Okay, here we go. We'll jump into the first question for the three of you. I hope you don't mind. We'll go Kim, Fair, and then Nico in that order. So, something in common, all of you are SEA Games gold medalists. Okay, so first question. What kind of progress did you do for endurance training after every SEA Games that competition that you've joined? We'll start with Kim.
For me, there is no changes in my routine since
Okay.
I'm really consistent naman. And being consistent is good. And for me, pag consistent ka, the result will come.
Nandun talaga, no? It will come out, 'di ba? Natural 'yun, no? Nasusunod, no? Okay, thanks, Kim. Fair, how about you?
Well, I've only joined two SEA Games so far. The first one was in 2019 in Subic Bay, and I remember I didn't train that much for that event because I was still kind of new here in the Philippines, and I just started. Well, I joined Coach Annie like a few months before the SEA Games, but ever since, we've been biking a lot, pushing very hard on the run, especially, gaining some miles, extra miles on the run because I didn't train that much before. And from the first SEA Games to the second SEA Games, I think my training has been more or less similar. Obviously, the swim is also one of the most important parts, and I've been swimming a lot also. But yeah, I would say a lot of miles in overall.
Thank you, Fair. A lot of miles. I like that you put the mileage in it. Okay, Nico. Partner, I would say amongst the two, ikaw ang pinaka-veterano dito, no? Been to a lot of battles already. What's your take on that question, Nico?
Hindi naman siguro, like same age na kami ni Mang Grobang eh. Yeah, I mean, she's the longest national triathlete in history, di ba, in the Philippines. So parang quite impressive. But I do agree with my two teammates na a bulk of the foundation for progress and winning is the consistency and the mileage. Kasi endurance sport eh. Pero leading up to these big competitions like the SEA Games, yung pinaka main progress talaga is polishing the little details. Kasi in the elite athlete world, it's the little details that matter. So a lot of it, we try to look at the scientific application, such as strength and conditioning and diet and
Aha.
nutrition. So yung mga little details. But syempre, besides that, you don't go that way without being consistent sa mileage mo. So
Okay,
everything,
I
so both of them go hand in hand.
I like what you mentioned, Nico, no, yung the little details. Kim, do you keep track of those small details? Parang do you keep note na, ay, parang kulang ako dito ah. Or Fair, you as well. It looks like I need to improve on this particular detail. You guys are teammates. Do you take note of that? Does Coach Annie bring that out in training and say, hey, Kim, you're lacking this one, or Fair, you're lacking this one, Nico, how do you keep track of the little things? Kim, I'd like to hear from you.
Every race we have debriefing with the coaches, and
Okay.
we talk about mistakes, yung mga tama naming ginawa, and then
Aha.
para ma-improve for next race. So yun yung ginagawa namin with Coach Annie every after race. So it helps a lot.
And you have to keep on doing it, di ba? You have to keep on
Yes.
addressing that hanggang maging habit.
Yes, yes. Actually, every time na, for example, may na-notice kaming mali every race, ina-address agad namin and chine-change agad namin right away para hindi na magawa for next race.
Do you agree, Fair? That's how you do things too?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And not only we have a race briefing before the race itself, but also afterwards,
Oh.
like some kind of feedback. So, for instance, I remember in the last race we did in Kazakhstan, Coach Annie was watching over us, and she observed that for this is just an example, right? It seems that the first group the lead group, they pushed like a bit harder after every single buoy, some kind of
Okay.
change of rhythm, right?
Okay.
And that was actually the reason. I think that was the main reason why we lost the group, the chase pack, and the lead pack as well. So this kind of feedback helps, of course, in future, to sort it out those things that we still have to improve, and obviously we need those kind of briefings.
Love to hear that from you guys, huh? The real talk. I mean, in spite of the outcome, there is a briefing, no, Nico? May briefing before, so meron pang debriefing after, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. So, Nico, is this something that is consistently done in the national squad?
Yes, but it also depends on the athlete.
Yan ang gusto ko.
Yeah,
Why do you say that, Nico? Anong
it depends
importansya
talaga
ng
sa drive
athlete?
ng. Yes, a lot of it comes from the drive of the athlete. Everybody has their own specific goals. Kasi everybody has their own different background. But at the end of the day, the athlete who keeps winning is the one who's always consistent in being thirsty to be better.
I like that. Thirsty to in being better. Alam mo, parang nauuhaw nga ako eh. So, mamaya, I got thirsty with your sharing, so I'll make sure I will rehydrate later on. Okay.
Everybody
Um,
drinks.
everybody drinks Gatorade, of course. Now, guys, I love this next question. Um, triathlon, di ba? It's three different types of discipline yan. What is your favorite part of the sport? Si Kim is already smiling. Okay, is it the swim, the bike, or the run, and why? Okay, so we'll start with Kim Mangrobang. Go ahead, Kim.
Pwede bang finish line?
You read my mind.
So, yeah, every time, of course, nilulook forward ko is yung finish line. And my favorite part is running since I think I'm a good runner compared to my swim and bike. So, running
Okay.
is my favorite. And of course, syempre, yun na yung papunta sa finish line eh. And after every finish, syempre, you complete the race and you feel fulfilled. So, that's my favorite running.
Sige nga, since you mentioned favorite, Kim, what's your least favorite?
Biking. Actually, may part ako sa triathlon na hindi ko favorite. Yung parang
An-
sobrang,
ano
yung
yun? Ano yun?
transition one, yung swim to
Ah,
bike, kasi yung
aha.
feeling niya is red zone talaga. As in, kailangan mo mag-all out.
Trip.
The first few
Oo.
kilometers of the bike, it's red zone. As in, parang, shit, mamamatay na ako. Parang kukunin na ako ni Lord. So, yun yung feeling. Yun yung hindi ko least favorite ko. Pero of course, hindi mo makukomplete yung triathlon pag hindi mo pinagdaanan yung part na yon. So, kailangan kong gustuhin.
So I like that. Favorite part is the run. Least favorite sa bike. Pero yung pinakaayaw mo, it's the T1 because you're gonna go red zone in the first few kilometers of the bike. Love it. Love it. Fair. What is your most favorite and least favorite in the three? And why?
Well, it's actually a bit interesting because my favorite part, I would say, it's swimming. However,
Okay.
it's where I struggle the most, especially when it comes to racing. It's
Okay.
just that I enjoy swimming. I think it's the most complete sport in overall, and yeah, that's the reason why. The point is, where I feel the strongest, I would say, is biking, especially during races. That's the part where I normally feel more dominant, but it's actually the most boring sport to train because it takes hours to improve. However, the swim and the run takes, let's say, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half at most, right? But the bike, you have to bike at least 2 hours to say, I
Yeah.
did a solid workout, right? So, and also it helps if you have a team to train the bike, otherwise, it's going to be super boring. So I would say that's the least favorite part. Yeah, the bike.
Especially when you keep on doing those rounds in Carmel Ray, right? Like a hamster and just
Oh
keep
yeah,
going
tell me
around and
about it.
around and around and around. Okay. So Least favorite would be the bike because of the long hours. Most favorite for Fair is the swim, even if that would be, you'd say, your weakest part. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
jump to Nico. Nico, we'd like to hear from you. Most favorite,
Can we
least favorite, and why?
can we go specific? Like favorite ko is easy bike ride. Emphasis on the easy bike ride.
Okay. Most favorite
Is it too?
easy bike ride. Okay, so
Yung,
yung
yung
would
papunta
you
sa
like
coffee
to
shop.
expound? Yung coffee ride lang, coffee ride.
Yeah, but you know, kasi you get to socialize with friends, you can catch up. You get to enjoy the sport more kasi we're very used to the intense training session all the time. Na
Okay.
talagang putok baga, may mga close to injury na kami kapag may mga run intervals, which is fine by the way kasi nga at the edge kasi yung elite level training eh.
Yeah.
But ang pinaka this uncomfortable ako to compete talaga is always the swim. Kasi I think a lot of age groupers can relate that there's so much intensity at the gun start going to the first buoy, may mga sapakan, may mga natatanggalan ng goggles, iba lumalabas dugo ilong. nobody nobody wants that, but overall it's the whole experience, diba? I mean, well, di naman perfect lahat ng eksena gusto mo, but other than that, yeah, I'd say easy bike rides at the best one.
Easy bike ride. Ang most comfortable ka, and then least favorite would be the swim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the swimming competition, wild talaga yan.
Wild talaga. Well, to the newbies out there, don't worry. Yung sinabi naman ni Nico, that's if you mix it up, no, with the lead group and you like to join that washing machine in front, right? But you can always take your time, di ba? Stay in the back. Besides, your time naman, you will run with the rolling start the moment you cross that mat. Okay, so if you're trying it for the first time, don't mix it up with the big boys yet. Just have fun. Fair mentioned that swimming is really fun. It is fun. So don't let it scare you. Okay.
Especially if it's an
Um
open, especially if it's an open water swim. By the way, that's
if it's an
my favorite workout.
especially if you see some nice corals underneath, right? And swimming
Yeah,
and
also
fish
with
under
nice
the
views, of
ocean,
course.
right? Yeah, you'll get to see Nemo fishing there, okay, swimming there. Okay. Kim and Nico and Fair, we're gonna go to this segment which we call the lightning. Oh, rather, before. Oh, yan. Okay. Before lightning round. Sorry. We got one more question from our from Ton here. How early did you start in endurance sports, and how do you avoid burnout with all the training you do year round? I like this question because Kim, Fair, and Nico, you guys are constants in all our international races, even local races. So again, two questions there. How did you start endurance sports, and how do you avoid burnout with all the training that you do year round? Kim, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
For me, I started swimming when I was 9. And national team triathlon ako at age of 13. Naging teammate ko pa si Coach Annie.
So
So,
tama nga si Nico, ikaw nga ang pinaka-season dito. So Nico, my apologies for calling you the veteran. Si Kim pala yung veterano na na matagal na.
so,
Go ahead, Kim.
I'm not that
so,
old, okay?
so technically, Triathlon Philippines na yung nagpalaki sa akin since naabutan na nila akong nagdalaga. First SEA Games, second SEA Games, third SEA Games, and ilan na ba? Fourth SEA Games. So, for me, para hindi ako ma-burnout, I keep racing. Because racing motivates me a lot. And I'm so lucky na Philippine Triathlon team is giving me opportunity to race a lot, especially abroad. So, nakakatuwa na nandito pa rin ako. Ngayon, coach ko na si Coach Annie and nagiging coach ko na yung iba kong teammates and baka next time si Nico, coach na rin yung tawag ko.
Nico,
so,
tatawagin ka ng coach, oh.
so eventually, so baka basta yun, for me, racing keeps me motivated and I think yun yung secret ko para hindi ako ma-burn out. since matagal na ako sa sport na to.
Alam mo, interesting to ask. Bonus question dito, Kim. Mabilis na sagot lang. Apart from swimming, biking, and running, ano pa yung ibang hobbies mo na pag ayaw mong gawin yung tatlo that you do to avoid burnout? Meron ka bang ibang hobbies? Like on music or on dancing or on the arts? Just meron ba?
For me, triathlon, like, gets me on, like, yung time ko a lot. So, for me, simpleng talking to my friends lang, watching
Aha.
movie with my friends, yun yung kill time ko if I'm not doing swim, bike, or run. Parang medyo triathlete na talaga ako. Talagang doon na ako nakafocus. And this is my job and I'm really happy na ginagawa ko yung gusto ko until now.
And then we're very grateful that you always represent flag and country. Thank you, thank you. Fair, your turn. How early did you start in endurance sports and how do you avoid burnout, Fair?
Well, the point is, I started when I was 19 years old, so that's quite late to be a triathlete. And that's actually the reason, I reckon that's actually the reason why I've never burned out, because I've been practicing triathlon for just a few years. Unlike others, I know people that by the age of 20 years old, they are already burned out because they've been
Uh-huh.
training their whole life. And I think that's actually yeah, the reason why I never burn out. And another thing I do, as Kim said, is racing. I think that really keeps you motivated to keep training, to keep, improving. And I would say that also, I mean, having friends, teammates to train with, that helps, of course, to, to face the workouts and keep training.
Just like him, do you have any hobby that your followers or your fans don't know of that you do outside of the sport?
Well, yeah, I
Other
play
other
guitar.
interests?
I,
You play
I
guitar?
like also hanging out with my friends. Yeah, yeah, electric, classic guitar. Yeah. I'm
Wow.
not a musician,
Wow.
like a professional one, but it's one of my favorite hobbies, of course.
So in the next local race that I see, I'm gonna bring a guitar and you're gonna play in front of everybody. I'm just kidding, Fair.
Yeah, please, but
Okay.
just rock style. I don't play reggaeton or K-pop, please.
All right. Okay, we jump to Nico. Nico, when did you start endurance sports? Saka how do you avoid burnout, kapatid?
Yeah, I started endurance training when I joined the swimming team in LaSalle. So I moved to distance swimming back in 2009, 2008 in college. And then doon ako na-introduce sa sport of triathlon, joining fun runs. So I've been doing this for over 12 years. Actually, 13 years. And it's fun.
Okay.
And yes, I'll be very honest na nag-start yung burnout just after 4 years of doing the sport. Kasi with the national team, very pressuring yung trabaho namin na every competition matters. Tapos there's always targets to keep improving. Always
Yeah.
have to place top 10 in this competition. May mga races like the SEA Games, you need to win, di ba? Gold or nothing. So there's a lot of pressure that's going in our heads. So every year, nababurnout ako. So I allocate a lot of time to do like weekend trips, secret trips na parang magaan na lang to tone down. One of which is, sometimes I would do yung NGO relief missions para to
Nice.
see na I'm doing something productive, giving back to the community. And it also humbles my life as a top level athlete na there's more to life than just sports. And it makes you a better person and not just an athlete because you get to see the impact that you do, not just by competing, but you get to see it firsthand na, okay, I get to help people. And
Uh-huh.
you're creating value out of the community. And it goes hand in hand
Yeah.
na what triathlon does to you. So that's my first um, avoiding burnout. Second would be, dahil yun nga, it's a sport that demands a lot of consistency, di ba? So you need to still do physical activities and training. So what I do is I do a lot of easy bikes with friends. I bike with I don't know if you're familiar with the usuals multi-sport team. So I bike
Yeah.
with them on my availability. We would just hang out, not even talk about triathlon, just biking and coffee. They're my good friends, the usuals, and then the BF Homes Cycling Club, mga kapitbahay ko. So I share with them as well, what I've learned inside. So both these two teams, I do easy workouts when I'm not with Team Bike Stop Go for Gold during intense workouts. So everybody wins out of the experience.
Ganda nung shinare mo, Nico, no? You just you reach out to other people, you help them with your CSR activities, and yung mga coffee ride, no? Maganda nga yun, just to get your mind off competition. Parang restart yun, no? Parang ma-recharge, di ba?
Yes, recharge, but at least you still get to complete a workout which is demanded by your job and lifestyle.
Yeah, you mentioned Go for Gold. Shout out to Mr. Jeremy Go. Of course, we tip our hats off to Jeremy for also helping our athletes. Saying hello to the Freddie Mercury of the Philippines, Rafi Silerio, watching us right now. And sabi ni Rafi, Ate Kim, pasample naman ang dimples mo. Pwede bang dimples daw, Ate Kim?
Ay,
Ayan
nako,
na.
Rafi.
Ayan na. Direct Rafi na kita mo na. And Rafi incidentally is also flying to Kona next week to document our athletes who will be participating in the big dance there. So safe trip, Raf. Okay, we now move on to what we call the lightning round. Okay, Kim, Fair, and Nico. I'll be asking or giving out 10 different phrases, and you got a few seconds, top of mind, to give me your answers. Kaya lightning round yung tawag natin dito. Not more than 2 seconds to think, ha? Top of mind, ha? Walang dayaan. So, lugi dito si Kim kasi ikaw una. Swerte dito si Nico dahil you'll get to hear the question already. So, here we go. 10 questions or 10 phrases. Okay? Number 1. Kim, we start with you. Favorite exercise or workout? Go, Kim.
Track workout.
Track workout. Fair. Style ni Fair, oh. Kunyari naglag. Kunyari naghang. Pero
Gawin ko nga rin yun.
Hindi lang gagalaw.
Naghang talaga siya. You know what? I have a feeling he moved inside. Baka umuulan na sa Santa Rosa.
Yes,
Okay,
umulan na actually.
umuulan na. Okay, direct in the background, if Fair comes back in, we'll try to bring him back in. It happens. Nico, hindi sinasadya yun, ha?
Alam ni
Nico,
Kim yung style. Kapag hindi masagot agad, maglalag.
favorite exercise or workout? Nico?
Easy bike.
Easy bike, okay.
Consistent tayo sa gusto natin.
Mamaya si Fair mag-isa to siguro pagbalik niya. No? Tanongin ko siya ng isang malupit. Second question. Kim, we go back to you. Go to cheat snack.
Chocolates.
No. Chocolates. Nico?
Pizza.
Pizza. Uy, sarap. Sarap nun, okay. Number 3, ito. Kung may cheat snack, go to healthy snack. Kim?
Salad.
Salad. Pero merong lechon kawali sa
No
ibabaw.
question mark. May
Baka naman-
bacon. May bacon. May cheese.
Okay. Nico, go to healthy snack.
Pizza.
Pizza pa rin. Okay, pero vegetarian pizza naman siguro. Baka naman. Okay.
I see what you did there.
Kim, ikaw naman. Athlete you look up to.
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt. Ooh, right. How about you, Nico?
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps. Nice. Swimming, okay. We go to the 5th one. Si Fer, yari mamaya to. Sunod-sunod ang questions ko kay Fer. 5th one, best event you've joined.
Of course, syempre yung Philippine SEA Games. So, ibang klase talaga siya.
Iba talaga, no?
Iba
Alright.
siya.
Tindig balahibo siguro yun, ano?
Hanggang ngayon, nag-goosebumps ako pag sinasabi ko eh. 2019.
If you remember it. Oh, yes. So, and that was before the pandemic, di ba? Kaya talagang very, very memorable. Nico, best event you've joined?
Asian Championships.
Asia. Bakit? What's so special about that? Would you like to expound a bit?
It's a fun environment. Ang dami namin delegates sa national team and all the Asian countries. At iba yung culture eh. Very friendly yung buong Asia. So, nagiging, ano siya, fun but intense competition. So, very well balanced.
Yun yung maganda, no? Enjoy na pero alam mong laban muna tayo, ha? Let's be chummy-chummies at the end of the race na lang. Alright, that's right. Number 6. Kim, most hated exercise routine.
Um, Gym workouts.
Talaga.
So, pero kailangan siyang gawin eh. Pero parang ayoko siya.
Okay.
Ini-skip mo nga yun eh. Kasama ka.
Oh, ayan.
Pero
Oh.
kayo,
Oh. Ayan na, lumabas na. Nico, ikaw, ano ang most hated exercise routine mo?
Hard swim workouts. Yung mga tig 6,000 meters swim.
Talaga. Anong palo na ng heart rate mo nun pag ganun?
Ay, mga ano yan. 170, 180. Yung tipong nalulunod na ako sa waves ni Kamang Grobang. Pagkasama ko siya sa lake.
170, 180 heart rate?
Yes, yung mga intense workouts. At ano yan, maraming reps yan. More than 10 reps of that. So parang it really hurts.
Wow. I'm sure after nun, kaya pala pizza ang favorite mo, no? After nun siguro you
Yes,
dive
my favorite healthy snack. Ito.
pizza. Okay. Number 7. You can't leave work without this one thing. Ano yan? You can't leave or you can't work without this one thing.
for me siguro hair tie.
Hair
Parang
tie.
hair tie, oo. Kasi parang, okay, game on na. Kailangan ko na mag-training.
Siyempre, hindi ako makarelate dyan kasi wala akong itatay na hair. Diba? Pero yun yung parang ano mo, signal mo na, it's time to buckle down to work.
Yes.
So, friends, pag nakita nyo si Kim na nagtatali ng buhok, umilag-ilag na kayo. Yan na yun. Nico, how about you?
Smartphone.
Smartphone. Okay.
Yeah, everything you need is right there. Eh. And I work 24/7 with some coordination work with the Athletes Commission of the Olympic Committee. So, kailangan lagi responsive ka sa comms.
And I'm sure pati sa mga CSR activities mo, you need that, right?
Yes.
make
Even
sure that-
weekends. So, it's a 24/7 ano talaga. It's a lifestyle you enjoy dapat.
Oo. Agree. Okay. Si Fair, whenever he's back, just put him back in, guys. Number 8. Kim, sport that you'd like to try na hindi mo pa nasusubukan na, wag yung nasubukan mo na.
Ice skating.
Ice skating, okay? Nico, how about you?
Equestrian.
Equestrian. Okay yun, ha? All right. Fair, you gotta jump in. This is what we call lightning round. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, but top of mind answer, you should mention that, okay? So this is already the 8th one. I'm gonna ask 1 to 7 right after this quickly with you. But number 8,
All
sport you'd like to try. Fair. What would that be?
So I think I would go for scuba diving.
Scuba diving. Okay. Nico and Kim, I hope you don't mind. I'll go 1 to 7 quickly with Fair, para he gets to answer also. So Fair, number 1,
All right.
favorite
Another fast
exercise or workout. Top of mind answer. Go.
So I would say an open water swim session.
Open water swim session. Number 2, go to cheat snack.
Definitely a chocolate pecan bar with a caramel macchiato at Starbucks.
Grabe, napaka-detailed nun, Chocolate pecan bar with a caramel macchiato from Starbucks. Oh, okay. Go to healthy snack. What's your go to healthy snack?
Peanuts.
Peanuts pa rin, okay. Number 4, athlete that you look up to.
Rafa Nadal.
Rafa Nadal. Ooh, that's nice. Number 5, best event you've joined.
SEA Games 2019, Subic Bay.
Okay. Number 6, most hated exercise routine. Fair.
Wow. Uh, so I think I would say a long run build up. Yeah, like 2 hours
Okay.
run.
Okay. Take note that Coach Annie is listening and still watching. Uh, number 7, you can't leave or you can't work without this one thing.
My watch. I always
Your
have to wear it.
watch.
After all, it's one of my main tools.
Okay. Now, we're back to square one. Last 2 questions for all 3 of you. We'll start with Kim with this one. Number 9, best advice you'd like to give to your younger self. Go ahead, Kim.
Relax. Your time will come.
Relax, your time will come. Fair. What would be your greatest advice to your younger self?
Join triathlon as soon as possible.
Join triathlon as soon as possible. Okay. Nico, ikaw naman.
Start biking while you're young.
Start biking while you're young. Yes. And enjoy those coffee rides, no? Masarap yan. All right. Number 10 in our lightning round. Last. Kim, your favorite Gatorade flavor?
Grapes.
Grapes. Fair.
Tropical fruit.
Tropical fruit. How about you, Nico?
Grapes.
Grapes. Okay. So we got 2 against 1. All right. Now,
Sorry, kumain.
we've reached the final part of our show. I'd like to ask you guys more, but apart from interest of time, we gotta give Kim enough time to pack and leave for the airport and go to Jordan to compete for flag and country. Final na lang to, the 3 of you. Any advice for our audience, our members, audience members watching us right now who are thinking of joining their first triathlon race, whether it be a sprint, a 5150, a half Ironman? Any advice to them? And together with that, your final message to all our viewers. Let's make it one messaging. So advice and then final message. Kim, go ahead.
For people who will join their first triathlon, kailangan nyo mag-train, and recovery and nutrition is part of training also. So you need to do that as well. And yeah, that's it.
And yung message mo naman to all the viewers, all the fans of
Ah,
Kim Mangrobang.
for all the fans, thank you for supporting Philippine Triathlon. And salamat talaga sa lahat. And of course, the Triathlon Federation of the Philippines. And of course, PSC. Thank you. And of course, Gatorade for having me here. Super first time ko and nakakatuwang maging part ng sobrang educational webinar na to.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. And we wish you the best of luck itong darating na weekend, October, ano ba? Itong October 1, no? 'Di ba? Saturday, no? In Jordan, ha? So, thank you, Kim. We go to Fair. Fair, what would be your advice to those who would be thinking of doing their first triathlon race and your message to all our viewers out there? Go ahead, Fair Cáceres.
So I would say first contact with a professional, and by this I mean a coach, a good coach, because you are gonna need someone to guide you, right? You are new in this sport, so that would be the best advice. Find a good coach. And I would like to be grateful to everyone who has been supporting us so far, to the Pinoy community, to PSC and POC for keep funding us all the travels, all the expenses, the races, the registrations, everything. Thank you so much for everything.
And I think we lost Fair again momentarily there. But we'll try to bring him back. Okay. We'll jump to Nico. Nico, good to answer also yung sabi ni Justin Lu. Nabasa mo ba yung comment niya? Nakalagay din, we want advice on how to be the next Nico Welgas. Oh, ayan, meron ditong comment. But kidding aside, advice mo, Nico, dun sa mga first time will join a tri race and then your message to everyone watching us right now. Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, so shout out to Justin Liu. Hi, brother. Good to see you. And yes, so special advice to our audience members who would want to try their first triathlon. I would give the same advice I would tell myself when I started. Always start with one sport. And before you even jump to add the next sport, try to learn that until you get to the advanced level. So meaning to say, stay consistent with one sport and probably join a solo sporting event of that. So for example, running. If you started with running, try to do muna hanggat makatapos ka ng 10 kilometers before you add another sport like swimming. Rather than makatapos ka na ng 3 kilometers, ay gusto mo na agad magdagdag ng isa to be a triathlete. So try to go to the advance, add another sport, go to advance, and then add another sport, and then you get to do the three sports and go do advance. So in that way, start slow and start consistent. Huwag mong bibiglain. And then, as what first said, get a good coach because the coach will guide you through in the most efficient and safe way. And with Kim Mangrobang's advice, with diet and nutrition, di ba? It's very important kasi internal factors yan. So, pinaka-general advice dyan, always eat and drink before you get hungry and thirsty. Not when you become hungry and thirsty. Sa fun run, di ba? Drink before you get thirsty. Not when you're thirsty na. Para hindi mag-deplete agad yung energy nyo. Kaya always take Gatorade to prepare your body for that. And last but not the least, for a shoutout, maraming salamat sa ating triathlon community, ating multisport. Thank you for supporting Philippine Triathlon all these years. Hopefully, you guys can support our teammate, si Mang Grobang. I don't call her Kim kasi maraming Kim sa national team. And to all of our supporters, maraming salamat from different sponsors. And of course, sa aming pinaka mother company, Triathlon Association of the Philippines, funded by the Philippine Sports Commission. Maraming salamat sa inyo for helping us represent the country all these years and creating a lasting legacy for the next generation that will come. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Nico Welkas, and fantastic chatting with you guys as always. Apart from seeing you guys in local races and we have that small chats, I really look forward to having this nice conversation with you. So, Pilipinas and all over the world, palakpakan po muli natin Kim Mangrobang, Fair Caceres, and Nico Welgas. Maraming salamat. But especially to Kim, have a safe flight tonight. We hope you get to Jordan safely and na magandang biyahe mo. Rest well and bring home the bacon, bring home that gold together with the rest of our national squad there. And we hope to see you and Fair and Nico race more for flag and country. We salute you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ingat. Ingat kayo guys. Wow! Ang sarap naman nun. Okay. So if you guys enjoyed, stay with us because we're going to our very last segment, trivia. 8 winners will be bringing home the shirt, the socks, the squeeze bottle, and the Gatorade backpack. Okay? 8 questions. Our questions will be based on the presentation of our 2 guest speakers. If you get the right answer, our social media team will be contacting you separately to know or to tell you how you're going to get your prizes. At the end of the day, at the end of the show, QR code para sa mga gusto ng certificate of attendance. All right, let's jump into our trivia game number 1. Type away, type away. Okay, what leads to race week and race day success? I repeat, what leads to race week and race day success? Type away. First to answer will be the lucky winner of the shirt, socks, squeeze bottle, and Gatorade backpack. Okay? Question number 2. True or false? When the waves are choppy, it is best to go on top or under the waves. True or false? Okay? Actually, sorry, i-edit ko ng konti yung question dyan kasi when I saw the presentation, dalawang choice yan. Isang choice ito or yung isa. Ano ba yung true, ano yung false? So when the waves are choppy, is it it's best to go on top or under the waves. True or false? You answer that question, okay? Number 3, what's an important step in preparing? Ito muna. Number 2 to Can we show number 3 already? Okay. Hindi, clear ko lang yung 2 Clear ko lang yung 2 Yung 2, dapat the question is, when the waves are choppy, it is best to go on top or under the waves. Yun lang. True or false? I was able to verify that in the presentation. So you answer that true or false. Okay? Number 3, what's an important step in preparing for a race? May mga binanggit yung speakers natin kanina. Diba? So make sure you were able to grab one of those. Answer. Type. Hurry. We go to number 4. True or false? When sighting, di ba? Sabi ni coach kanina, dapat mga 5 to 6 strokes. Sight ka na agad, di ba? Wag yung more than 10 strokes. It is always best to follow swimmers in front of you. True or false? Type away. We go to number 5. Halfway na tayo. Share a mantra that helps you keep focused. Sabi ni Coach Annie yan. Meron siyang list of mantras, diba? Mga suggestions doon. Whether it be for the swim, for the bike, or for the run. So, if you're able to catch that, share a mantra that helps you keep focused. Coming from that presentation of Coach Annie. Number 6. We go to number 6. Okay. Sweat rate is computed by weight loss plus fluid intake divided by what? Clue. Tumuturo na ako sa clue, Oh, gandang clue yun, Sweat rate is computed by weight loss plus fluid intake divided by what? Alright! Number 7. Ito, nilabas ko pa to kanina with Dr. Michelle. Is it important to eat 20 to 40 grams of protein before or after sleep? Nagtanong pa nga ako, di ba? Ano yung mga magandang sample ng 20 to 40 grams? Pero, is it before or after sleep? Type away! And finally, question number 8. What are the key components to endurance? Tatlo yan. Let me give you a clue. Letter C, letter P, and letter H. C, P, H. Type away, ladies and gents. Type. As mentioned, our social media team will be taking note of the winners and will be messaging you privately. So check your messages, okay? So thank you for participating in our trivia game. And we're about to end the show. But before that, gusto namin magpasalamat. Thank you for joining us for the last live session of our GSSI Webinar Series 2022. For now, dahil sana meron pa itong next year, di ba? Because I'd love to be with you guys again. And I'd like to thank all our esteemed guests for sharing their knowledge with us. Lots of information, tips, lessons. Ang dami. No, pati mga guest athletes natin. And I hope you gained a lot. You learned a lot from all our 4 sessions the past, almost a month and a half of being together. And especially, thank you po for those who will stay for the QR code. Sayang kasi meron tayong certificate of attendance that you can get once we flash the QR code. So make sure that you wait for that and then answer the short survey. It will be, pag na-upload niya sa Facebook page ng Gatorade later on, mawawala na yung QR code. So please watch out for that. So having said that, thank you everyone, and I hope you all have a great day. Have a great quarter 4. October is 2 days away, or 2 sleeps away, and take note, we only got 87 days before Christmas! Woohoo! So on behalf of our team here, Team Gatorade, Mikey, Melai, everyone, we got Tommy, we got Cedric, people in the back, technical team, lahat po na naging guests. My name is Chicky Reyes saying thank you for joining GSSI Webinar Series 2022. Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho! And we'll see you again next year. Good luck to all those racing this weekend, next weekend, and for the coming months. Having said that, paalam, Merry Christmas! We'll see you next year.